Today, Bitcoin did something big, and I want to talk about it. And I want to talk about what I think is the future for Bitcoin now that this candle is present uh, in my view, which is this nasty candle right here. This is the weekly chart. You could see we have a 9 here. Now we have a double 9. But this 9 is a rejection. So this tells me it looks like the party's over for Bitcoin. Honestly, it does. So I'm going to tell you the reasons why I think it is over for Bitcoin, but that doesn't mean it's over for the altcoins. I think a rotation happens in distribution from Bitcoin into altcoins. So, I actually sold some of my Bitcoin a few days ago. Not a lot, just a little bit, just starting to get out of Bitcoin. I've been selling honestly for a while now, because if you look here, from the beginning of 2023, we've been going up for a whole year. We've been going up. Here's the beginning, right? We're going up, 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 and then look at this. We're on a brand new year, and then we're on a 9. So this whole year we didn't get a 9, no 9s, no 9s. And by the way, if you don't know what a 9 is, it's basically, if you want to learn what that is, just go to Google and type in TD sequential. T as in Tom, D as in dog, sequential. TD sequential, and then you can read about how it works. So basically it's very simple. It's an exhaustion indicator. It lets you know when the price is becoming exhausted, right? So you could see how right here we had an 8, but we never got to a 9. You could see the count flipped before we got a 9. So it wasn't a really good entry. But, again, this is the weekly chart. If I go to let's go to the 3-day chart, you can probably see more of them. Yeah. See right there. You could see, and they don't always work out, right? But you use this in conjecture with others, right? You use this with other indicators. So you can see a 9 right there, and look at the result, right? You could play around with it. So here it is right here. It's on the very top. So if you have TradingView, just type that in right here. TD sequential fence, right? And it'll pop up. And you can play around with it on the 5-minute chart if you want, and it'll surprise you. It's got some juice to it. Especially when things work out the way they're supposed to work out. But anyways, so here's the reasons why I think Bitcoin is top. Now remember, what is my textbook sort of thing that I say? I go by phases in the market. Phases in the market. If you haven't watched my videos, basically phases is the first phase of a market. Right? The first phase is the breakout. That's the first phase. The second phase is the crash, or the bear market. The third phase is the retracement. The fourth phase is reaccumulation. Right? And then, it's 4, but it's really 5, right? So you have a rise, a crash, a retrace, a reaccumulation, and then you go sideways for a while. And then it starts over again, and then you break out. It's kind of, think of it kind of like a cup and a handle, sort of. That's why cup and handles pop up a lot, because the phases usually work out. Now, here's an example of that right here. Here's the phases right here. Check this out. So right here, let me turn this off so it's not distracting. We have a rise, a crash, a retrace, reaccumulation, right? Blast off. And this retrace is the same thing what we're going through now, right? So think of Bitcoin. Think about Bitcoin being right somewhere in here, right? Think of Bitcoin being somewhere right in there. So what, it's in its retracement. It's at the end of its retracement. Now let's see. Here's the cool thing. Let's see where it stopped out at in its retracement. If I take this here and I pull back down in here, would you look at that? We hit just a smidge. Here's the 618 right here. We hit a smidge above the 618. So basically the 618. That's where we hit in the retracement. Okay, so now let's go back over here. Where did we hit? We're going to pull the retracement down. Would you look at that? We hit the 618. And look at that. It was a smidge above it. You can see right here. A smidge above the 618. So that's one major red flag. Hey, warning, warning, warning. Alert, 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 right? And if you go back to my Bitcoin videos, I've often stated that this is what I'm believing is going to happen, which is, and here's the example that I'm going to go back to that I didn't finish, a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, blast off. And in this reaccumulation, you're going sideways. You can see this sideways type of deal going here. Now, if Bitcoin is lucky, then it's going to go sideways up at the top of this area up in here, right? Versus going sideways way the heck down here. So in this case, Bitcoin was lucky, and it shot up and it relatively held above. This range up in here, right? So if I go back over here, take that off. Let me get rid of everything. And this is not to scare you, or this is just to warn you. If you're holding a lot of Bitcoin, not financial advice, but I would consider, my friend would consider rotating that into the altcoins, because I feel like there's going to be some sort of distribution that happens up in here, right? So we can come down, then we can come back up, and then we can come down, and then maybe hit the high, and then start to come down, So all of this in here, as we go up, as we go up, as we go up, that's when the altcoins can really pop off 50, 200, 300%, as Bitcoin's going up like 3 or 4% in a retracement in distribution, if you know what I mean. So, looking at both, right? You have a rise, you have a rise, you have a crash, you have a crash, you have a retracement to the 618 exactly. You have a 618 retracement exactly, right? Just a smidge over, but what's a wick among friends, right? And then you come down right here, and then you kind of go sideways. You go down, and then you kind of go sideways. And that's what I've been saying in all my Bitcoin videos, really. Basically, I gave ideas, and the ideas was, number one, my primary idea, this is a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, go. Now, what I don't know is, how is this reaccumulation going to look? Now, one of the things I said was, we can have a mixture between this retrace, reaccumulation, or we can have this sort of stair-stepping type of deal going on here, right? Now, I'm not saying the party is over just yet, right? I think it is, but remember, we're still way above the bull market support band. Look how high we are above the bull market. Bitcoin's got a lot of room, a lot of bullish room to sort of distribute in here. It doesn't mean that Bitcoin's going to do this instantly. No, I don't think that at all. I think it's going to range in here. What I'm saying is I don't think Bitcoin's going to do this. That's what I'm saying. I don't think Bitcoin's going to continue going up. I think Bitcoin's going to start distributing in a range. And that could leave bullish days and bearish days. So you have green days and red days, green days and red days, right? I'm not saying straight red days or straight green days. I'm just saying we're probably going to range a little bit in here. Maybe come back down, range some more, right? And then start to continue higher, hopefully. Hopefully, because look, we have, this is all one wave from 2023 to 2024 up. This whole thing is up, 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 up. This whole wave. Yes, we have little counter waves, but the whole entire wave itself is one up wave. We haven't had a down wave yet. So we need a contrary wave, right? We need a contrary wave to this massive 1 year long wave. And this could take 6 months. It could take 9 months. It could take even a year, right? So something like that, something like this, right? Now, here's the thing. I don't know if Bitcoin's going to consolidate up here. It's going to consolidate over here. Or if it's going to be really bearish and come all the way down here and then go into reaccumulation. So the hard part is figuring out where the reaccumulation comes in. Where does the reaccumulation part come in? We got the rise, right? We got the crash. We got the retracement. Now we're going into reaccumulation. Now we're going into reaccumulation. But reaccumulation doesn't happen right now. It happens after sort of distribution, and that could take a couple of months, right? In a range, distributing. So it's going to be interesting. I've often said many times, I believe at some point, Bitcoin's going to come down here and retest this range. So that's the range I'm looking at, between 25 and 31,000. So if you go over here, right? So check this out. Let me actually do this. So this was actually a different type of thing, right? So instead of a rise, crash, retrace, so basically the retracement was also turned into reaccumulation. So we would go down in accumulation, we would retrace, then we would go sideways accumulation, and then we would retrace higher. Then we would go again, sideways accumulation, right? So we would reaccumulate near the vicinity of the high in this retracement. That didn't turn into, that overall wasn't a retracement. It was just a new bull run that was setting up, right? So you have two different things happening here. So the question is, which one is it going to be? Is it going to be something like this, or is it going to be something like this, right? So again, let's focus on this one here, and you can see. Let me get that out of here. Basically, check this out. So same thing here. You have that range in here, right? That first range, and then you have this second range in here. And now potentially we're getting that third range in here. That doesn't mean, I know I said in the beginning of the video, Bitcoin's, it doesn't mean it's toast. It just means, hey, it's probably not going to perform the way you think it is. And here's the thing. I've even said this before, like, guys, a Bitcoin ETF is a good thing, but it's also not a good thing, because it often marks the top of something. Go back over here. Check it out. I've been here a while. So I've had plenty of experience all through here. So when we were up here, that's when Bitcoin futures came out. Everybody's like, oh, now it's really going to go to the moon because now the big guys have more capital to play with in the futures market. Ooh, the futures market. That's a foreign word. That just sounds like rich man status, right? When you hear that, right? You hear Bitcoin, right? But then you hear the futures market. Ooh, what's that word? It makes it sound like it's, something that's going to be positive and powerful, but it wasn't. It was horrible because it popped the Bitcoin bubble. In all due respect, Bitcoin needed to be popped because if it continued higher, the chart could have been a total mess, and this wouldn't have been the low. We could have went below 1,000, right? It could have been total tulip mania, right? Where basically this is a hyperwave, right? A hyperwave. If you don't know what a hyperwave is, Google hyperwave theory, and basically. A very genius man. He passed away, unfortunately, but he used to come on the Tone Vase channel. His name was Tyler Jenks, and he's a very phenomenal human being. And he came up with this, and it's quite remarkable. But basically, here it is. Here's his book, Dr. Tyler Jenks, Tyler, younger guy, and Leah. Right, I know I don't know them, but I've seen them do their videos. They used to have channels, and they would talk about this stuff. And basically, you have phase one, right? You have a phase one. Let me turn that to yellow. Right, you have a phase one, you have a phase two, phase three, phase four, then phase 5, phase 6, and then phase 7. So basically, it's a wave. It's like a tidal wave. It's a hyperwave, right? And then it comes all the way down. But the important thing is where you are in the phases, right? So the phases I talk about, rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulate, it's different than this. This is basically a cataclysmic event. Basically, phase 7 comes all the way back down to phase 1, which is a total disaster, right? So you're basically, imagine Bitcoin's at $100, right? And then it goes all the way to $20,000, and then it comes all the way back down to $100. That would be devastating. So and that's usually what happens with hyperwaves. So, there's a lot of different hyperwave examples in the altcoins. I mean, big time. You could just go through altcoins back in 2018, 2017. You could see this whole structure. Usually the S coins come back down to phase 1 at some point. They usually come right back down here, right? So, that's hyperwave. It's an interesting theory, and it actually works out across several different markets, I've noticed. Okay, well, let me get back here. So now we have, so again, comparing it to this one over here. So, we could have something like this. That would be the best case scenario for Bitcoin, is basically if I take this fractal here, and there you go. So something like that would be like the best case scenario, right, for Bitcoin. And basically, I just seen it dumping again. Let's go down to the short time frame here. Whew. So far we've had about a 11-12% drop so far. So keep an eye on Bitcoin. Now the alt, you could see they're getting sort of plummeted, right? But that's okay, because that's usually what happens on an initial sell-off, when you have a dump, right? But what will happen, right, is if Bitcoin continues to dump like this, as it starts to sort of wane out, that's when the altcoins have already waned out, because they get hit harder, right? But then check this out. When Bitcoin starts to come back up again, because remember, nothing falls in a straight line. right? So you could see, you know, for example, it's going to fall like something like this. It'll come back up and then do this and then come back down, right? And then fall and then come back up and then fall, right? So what I'm saying is when Bitcoin falls, altcoins are going to hit hard. But then when Bitcoin goes back up into a retracement from this crash, you can see altcoins go up 20, 30, 40% sometimes, right? And then when Bitcoin starts to go down again, they'll pull back maybe equal or greater than, right? And then when it starts to come back up again, they pump hard. And then when Bitcoin gets a big dump, right, that's usually when they start to backtest sort of their breakout areas, right? So it's kind of weird and deceiving how you could think about it. But basically, when Bitcoin goes up, you're going to have altcoins go up, but not in the same pattern as this, right? Not in the same pattern, but so just look for these retracements. These retracements are the key to the altcoin success, right? And basically, and then when I zoom out even more, this is where the fun really begins for the altcoins. So, and I'm going to touch on that fractal in a minute, but basically, so the market starts to move down, Bitcoin, right? It touches the bull market support band, then it gets a bigger bounce, right? So then when we get this bigger bounce, I don't know how it's going to look. I'm just drawing it, right? I don't know how it's going to look, but I do know there's going to be a down move. I do know there's going to be a retracement. How does it look? I don't know. But during this retracement, right, that's when you're going to see altcoins, I think, in my opinion, start to really showcase their strength, because what's happening here is since 2023 all the way to 2024, Bitcoin dominance has been going up. I know if you know Benjamin Cohen, the guy's like the Bitcoin dominance guru, right? I mean, I think the guy's phenomenal. He's a genius. He's very smart. Do I agree with everything he says? No. He does a lot of things right, but I feel like the altcoins are gonna, take them by surprise, and they have been for quite some time. The safety trade for Bitcoin's been over for a while. So, a matter of fact, there's a good video out. Blockchain Backer put a good one out, going over similar things, right? So, but anyways, when we get this retracement, we're gonna see the altcoins potentially, get higher. They're gonna pump higher. But then when Bitcoin comes down, it comes back up again, right? So look for these up moves in Bitcoin. Now, when you zoom out, right? When you zoom out, you can see, what did Bitcoin do? It didn't do anything. It's basically, ranging in here, right? So, it could come down. I think it's going to break the range. It's going to break this range in here, right? And then distribution is over, and then it turns into reaccumulation. So it's going to backtest this area in here, right? Probably get another bounce. And then when we get this bounce, again, the altcoins are going to take by surprise. Not all of them, not all at once, but certain ones popping off at certain times during these bounces, right? Now, Bitcoin, you can see how Bitcoin's going up and up and up and up and up. And altcoins, a lot of them did good, but Bitcoin did fairly better, right? As far as being in a safety trade, right? So, just look at it compared to Ethereum or XRP or ADA. It's been much more sustainable. So, and it's been protecting your capital too. But now, I think that's going to rotate into the alts, and I agree with Blockchain Backer. I've been thinking this as well. I'm right there with them. in his analysis, because my own analysis says something similar, right? And basically, I like to go a little step further and show sort of, because I'm a visual learner, I like to show my viewers what is it going to look like, right? What is it going to potentially look like? What can we notice here? And basically, as Bitcoin's going down, that's when the alts are going up. And you say, how's that possible? How can Bitcoin, go down and the alts go up? It's because, like I've been saying, when Bitcoin does these sudden drops, yeah, they're going to get hit. But when they retrace, right, it's going to totally outperform Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin does like a three-way pullback retracement, you could see a big boom impulse in the alts, right? And then as it comes back down, the alts go an ABC or a back test, right? They back test, right? And then when it pumps up again, and they pump up again, right? And they drop and they drop, right? But then when it starts to retrace, you can see a big move to the upside, right? So look at this. So now look at this example. Now look at this example. So, they're both correlating, and then this is where the deception lies, right? Because when people think of correlation, they think of trend correlation, they think of price. No, it's not that at all. It's just if Bitcoin goes down, right, you could see a down move in the alts. But if Bitcoin goes up, you could see a bigger move in the alts. So now look at this move, and now look at this tiny little move, right? So it's still correlated. The difference is percentages and how it's trending. So this is why I'm doing my videos, because I feel like I'm providing something that's not being really talked about as much as I'd like on YouTube, right? Because I get it, I understand it, and I want other people to understand it too, right? Because when people think of Bitcoin correlation, because that's a big question, right? So if you watch, like I've been talking BCB, Blockchain Bag, if you watch his channel, he talks about Bitcoin distribution, right? But then again, the question becomes, well, how does that happen? How does that work, right? He'll talk about the data and everything, but I like to go a step further. Like I said, how does that work? How can Bitcoin be in distribution and go down while alts go up? How does that make sense? Because we've been taught our whole lives that they're correlated. So now I just explained it. Now you understand, right? So, going a step further, right? Let's see. Again, let me. So we have basically covered about everything, and just to summarize real quick, I believe the bull market obviously over, the crash is over, the retracement is pretty much probably over, and now we're going into reaccumulation. So, somewhere in here, right? Somewhere in there. So again, if I'm following the path here, we have a retracement, then we come down, and that's probably when the alts are done. That's probably when the alts are done running, because at that point we broke below this 31K. I think once Bitcoin breaks below 30K, now I could be wrong, but I think that's probably when the alts should be finishing up whatever they should do. Now, it doesn't mean all alts. I don't think all of them are going to do what we think, right? I think certain ones could have the potential to pop off at certain times, depending, like I said, depending where they are in their cycles. So, for example, THETA, I think THETA is in its retracement. Now, I don't know if THETA is going to go into a new all-time high. I believe it will at some point. But what I don't know is, will it go into reaccumulation? I think THETA is somewhere in here, right? So I feel like it's got a lot more to go. So as, so here's THETA right here, right? So I'm thinking, okay, if Bitcoin's already up here and Bitcoin's already starting to in distribution, all those little waves I drew, right? So the down wave, and then the retracement wave. As we get that little retracement wave, that's when we can see theta start to pump up harder, right? And then we come back down, theta pulls back, right? So this is, pretend this is the Bitcoin chart, right? And then we come back up again, then we break the low, come back, ABC, maybe back test this area. And then as Bitcoin starts to come up harder, right, in a bigger retracement, that's when theta can finish up its major retracement. And then when Bitcoin starts to break below 31K, that's probably when theta goes into distribution. And then that's probably when the rotation happens from alts into Bitcoin again. Now, you could say, well, that sucks for theta, but no, you got to realize, we need a retracement, we need distribution, we need to come down for reaccumulation, right? And then we can go to the moon. So basically, where we are, right? So Bitcoin is here, theta is here. So when Bitcoin gets to here and it wants to blast off, where's theta going to be? Theta is probably going to be just barely entering reaccumulation. And the reason why is because that's good, because you want Bitcoin to go first. As Bitcoin goes first, that's when people are reaccumulating theta. Then when Bitcoin, right, when Bitcoin stalls out, that's when theta goes. See how it works? It's interesting. So when Bitcoin starts to distribute a little bit in here, right? So on this crash, we come down, right? But on the retracement, this little tiny Bitcoin move, boom, all theta has to do is, it's a moonshot, right? So, that's sort of how it works. And it's sort of like a little jigsaw puzzle you have to put together, because technical analysis, as hard as it is, but being a TA guy on crypto, it's even harder. The reason why is because you got to understand where the phases are in different coins, especially Bitcoin, right? So if you're an altcoin enthusiast, a hodler, a trader, especially a trader, you got to know where the stock market is. You got to know where the dollar is. You got to know where the bond market is. You got to know where Bitcoin is. You got to know it's hard, right? Because the altcoin market is the most riskiest, the best rewarding asset class, in my opinion. The altcoin market is the most rewarding asset class, and with great rewards comes great risk, right? And in order for these massive, look at this, in order for this massive rise, right? What is that? 30,000%, right? In order to get a 30,000% move, the environment, it's all about the environment. The dollar has to be aligning with the stock market, has to be aligning with gold, has to be aligning with the bond market, has to be aligning with Bitcoin. Basically, the stars have to align in order to get this, right? And they only come once in a blue moon, right? Look how much pain and hell we've been in, all in here and all in here, right? Probably going to be all this, right? Versus this little tiny sliver. So most of it is hell, complete euphoria, and then hell again. So to be an altcoin hodler, you have to understand this part, right? Because most people quit, most people sell, most people get discouraged, most people don't want to wait anymore, most people say, give up. But most people go chase other coins. So for example, a lot of people went to go chase Dogecoin. So like somebody in, I don't know, Solana, or early investor in Solana, they saw Doge pop up because Elon said it, right? They jump into Doge pulls back, and then that's when Solana goes. So they just missed both runs. All you have to do, the basic thing to do, is to know which coin you're in, and also know where you are in that phase, in that cycle. But most importantly, is to be planted. You got to plant yourself. Don't jump, don't hop, around. Of course, right? When you get to your goal or your target, right, then you can jump around. So for me, right, as a theta hodler investor, right, I want to see basically what happens up in here, right? And probably, take profits as an insurance policy in case theta, as Bitcoin's going into reaccumulation, right? Retrace reaccumulation. That's when theta is barely going into a retracement, right? So as Bitcoin is distributing, that's when theta is going into retracement, right? So now theta is in a retracement, Bitcoin's falling down, probably going to rotate some of the theta, right, back into another safety net, just in case theta comes back down for reaccumulation. But here's the thing. Here's your Wyckoff accumulation, here's your retrace, you come back down and you reaccumulate on, so here's the box here, you reaccumulate on top of this Wyckoff accumulation, right? So you retrace, you come back down, and as it's reaccumulating here, that's when you're accumulating. But this retracement, I'm probably going to take some profits when we hit that 618, just like what Bitcoin did. That doesn't mean you should. That's not financial advice, because again, I've often said there's many ideas that can happen, and I'm looking at this, right, as that Bitcoin fractal, right? So the Bitcoin fractal where it's going up and up and up and up, right? So that's the thing. If I start to see the Bitcoin fractal come more into fruition, right, then I'm not going to take profits on my theta. But if I see theta, sort of moonshot up here in a very fast manner and then sort of waddle around, then I'm going to think, okay, now we're coming down for reaccumulation, right? So, I'd rather have it do this than this, right? So for example, this is theta, right? Or this is Bitcoin, but this is what theta can do. So think about theta being like right in here somewhere, or right in here, right? So if I see theta come up, consolidate sideways, break up, consolidate sideways, sort of intertwine and marry and retest this bull market support band, then no, I'm not going to sell my theta. But if theta does this, right, it shoots way up here, pulls back, shoots up again, then I'm probably going to think, okay, now it's going to come down into reaccumulation and then go. So both of them go. This one goes and this one goes. They both go. The difference is how they go, right? And I don't recommend anybody jumping around, because you just don't know, right? So my best idea would be to just hodl. So that way there's no questions about it. You're going to get the reward. You just got to have that patience and wait for it. So that's basically it for Bitcoin. I know I touched on theta a little bit, but just a little update there. But again, going back to what I think Bitcoin's going to do, well, basically, we can do something like this, right? Or we could do something like this. So before I show that, so basically this is sort of the more bearish idea, right? And you sort of go into this sideways accumulation. It's not going to be a perfect sideways range, it never is, but basically zooming out, what do you have? Rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off. And that's usually what happens, right? So now taking that away, we can have something like this instead, right? And then what that is, right, is you have, you know, your accumulation down here, your second accumulation up here, and then your third accumulation up here, right? Which still means we have to drop, right? We have to drop, I would say more than that, probably about 40%, probably between 30 and 40, up to 50%, right? Well, maybe not 50, but something like that. And then what that would do, right? Check this out. And this is what I hope happens. This is what I hope happens, by the way. I think it'll be a better situation. And I think this is a very good possibility. So in the beginning of the video, I said, I think it's done. Well, 35-40%, you know, that to me is a red flag, right? But then, right, so it's going to take, if this happens, it's going to take probably 6 months, right? I mean, look at this. Look how long this took. So from here, from March all the way to October. So that's like 6 or 7 months right there, right? So we can easily get another 6 or 7 months again. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying Bitcoin's going to die. I'm not saying Bitcoin's going to crash. What I'm saying is Bitcoin is probably done for a while. Either number one, we do, you know, something like this right in here, which is this example here, right? Or number two, we do this, which is a bigger pullback, you know, more of a reaccumulation, back testing this area, right? So it really depends on what she wants to do and what, you know, the stock market's doing at that time and what's going on politically, right? So basically, if I put them both side by side, you know, one of them's got a much bigger dump, right? But mainly from a time perspective, you know, look at, they're both back up to, you know, 100K around the same area, right? So, you know, pick which one you think. But what I'm really saying is, starting now, I think Bitcoin's not going to start breaking out into, you know, I think 51K is off the table, is what I'm trying to say. Now it can come up and wick up there, but I think it's done. So, you know, taking everything off the screen, here is my main primary idea, which is what I just showed, right? But if I had to draw it, we have a rise, a crash, and then also look at this. We have A, B, C. It's a three-wave move. That's bearish, right? I think eventually we're going to waddle in here. We're going to work our way back down to the bull market support band. Now, depending if we can hold it, right? If we can hold it, right, we get a bounce above it. But then eventually, if we can't break this high, then we're going to come and break below it. And then the bull market support band is going to go like this. Then we're going to break below it. We're going to retest it as resistance. Then we're going to come all the way back down here and back test this area. That's what we want. Then we probably get a bigger move to the upside, right? So what do you see? You see sort of the same thing. First accumulation, second, and now we're doing our third in here. Now the big question is, does this 30K hold? That's the big question. I don't know. I have no idea. So in a perfect world, we could see rise, crash, retrace, and this is our reaccumulation, and then we go, right? But we don't live in a perfect world, right? When we don't know. So I'm thinking, if that's not the case, we break below, we take out this low, right? and then we go into a much deeper reaccumulation, and then we go. So something like that. So that's sort of what I'm thinking. And that could, I mean, the way I've drawn it, I don't think it'll be that big. It could be. But that's another year or 2 years of hell, right? Because remember, this over here wasn't that long. But remember, the cycles are getting longer. They're getting more stretched out. It's taking longer to do things, right? Just look at the price of gold. I mean, gold takes forever. Silver takes forever just to move, right? Because it's bigger and bigger, right? So if I had to make my best guess, it'd be something like this. Now, a lot of the big bears, they think it's going to be this, A, B, and then we come all the way down to C, and this could happen, and this is like the hyperwave. Remember the hyperwave? And we come all the way back down here, and then we go up, right? So that would be like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, phase 6, or I'm sorry, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. I know this is phase 6, and this would be phase 7, right? So 7, 6, 5, and this is 4, this is 3, this is 2, and then down here is 1. So the hyperwave theory I showed up there, but yeah, those are the two bearish options. I don't think at all, well, could be wrong, but I don't think we're going to get an A, B, C, come down here and then go. I think it's going to be like I've always said from the beginning: rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off. So there you go. That's what I think is going to happen. And remember, during the time that, you know, Bitcoin or you know, it goes into its distribution consolidation and starts trending down, when we get those pumps to the upside, that's when I think we're going to get some bigger pumps for the altcoin. Oh, and just real quick, another reason I think it's bearish is, look at this. You have bearish divergence, altcoin. You know, I didn't really go over all my reasons why I think it's bearish, but here's another reason, right? We're going down, the RSI is going down, and look at the prices going up. So that's bearish divergence. So eventually we're going to come down. That's what I think. Now we're getting oversold. We could get a bounce, right? But then it's going to create more bearish divergence, probably. So yeah, that's just another reason why it's probably cooked. Now, I pray to God I'm wrong and it's not the case. But even if it is the case, even if it's not the case, whatever, I think the altcoins are going to, you know, start to perform better than we think in certain ones, right? Now we still have this trend line down here, right? Maybe we just continue to, you know, oscillate in here, maybe hit this trend line, then come back, maybe make another high up to 52, and then come down, right? And then come down, meet the bull market support band, retrace, and then, you know, so we could theoretically come up and take the top out. But if we do, it's going to be like a corrective structure, right? So A, B, C, sort of like how Bitcoin did it back in the day, like this right here. So notice this was the top of the bull run. We crashed, but then look what happened. We came up in a retracement, in a corrective retracement. We took out the top, grabbed the liquidity, and then we dumped. So that could happen again. Always remember that. It doesn't mean it's cooked right now, but it could be. So it's all about, you know, trying to rule out what it's not. But if I pull up, so theta is on the bottom of your screen, right? So let's pretend that what I said is true, and this is a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off. So I'm thinking as Bitcoin comes down, right, And then as it retraces, I think that's when theta is really going to pop up. Comes down, ABC, right? And then maybe comes up again, tags the high again, gets way back up here, right? Up into this area. And then as it starts to come down into reaccumulation, so now your distribution is done, now you're going down into reaccumulation and consolidating. That's when Bitcoin or theta starts to be in distribution, right? Then as, you know, we're still in reaccumulation because it takes a while, that's when sort of theta comes down into its reaccumulation, right? It comes down and then it goes sideways and then it'll moon after Bitcoin already moved. So something like that, right? Something like that. Now, if Bitcoin wants to do something more bullish where it doesn't have this, but rather just accumulate up here and then go, then we have a better chance at breaking out in a new all-time high, right? So here's the price of theta. We come up into a retracement as Bitcoin's in distribution. This is all potentially. I could be totally wrong. I could be wrong. I could be dead wrong. But this is what I'm thinking. And then, we go into distribution as Bitcoin's, going down, right? Then we come back down. Then we sort of come sideways like this. And then we start marching our way up. And that's a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off. So, but again, like I said, if Bitcoin wants to just distribute or reaccumulate like its 2015 example, and then continue, marching its way up, then theta doesn't have to do all of that. Theta can come up and just gradually go sideways, break up, go sideways, break up, and then until it takes out this top, and then it can start to fly. But either way, if you're a hodler, what does it matter? If it comes down here, you buy the dip. If it doesn't, you ride the ride. So there you go. That's what I think is going on at the moment. I could be, like I said, I could be wrong, but this is my theory. I've often stated many times before on my previous Bitcoin, I'm thinking that this is just a retracement. It could still turn into something bigger, right? But look at this. Look at theta, right? Look at theta. What is theta doing? It's having a bullish correction. Theta, here's the bull market support band, right? I said it before. I think theta is going to come down here, retest the bull market support band, then start to get out of here. We want to break above $1.60, $1.70. Once we get out of there, then we can shoot up. Then where's the next stop? Next stop, $2.61. Boom, you get rejected. Come back down. You back test this high. You're back testing it. Kind of like how Bitcoin went sideways for a little bit, right? And then it jumps up again, right? So then zooming out, what does that look like? There you go. That's what I think. And what is that? That's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now 5 can get up here. 5 can get all the way up here. I don't know. But I think at some point, I've been calling for it. I think theta is going to get up here. Somehow, some way, it's going to get up here. The question is, where is Bitcoin when theta is here? That's the question. That's going to potentially tell me, does theta have to do this and come down and then go sideways like this and then go up? Rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways. Is that what's going to happen? Or does theta, chop around up here, but then, go sideways and then breaks out? Kind of like how that 2015 Bitcoin fractal, that the fractal I shared a couple videos ago. So, that's sort of the visual learner of me trying to figure out where it's going to be. But regardless of what happens, I think theta's in a good spot. Now, The only thing that would, you know, if we're not going to get up here, then that means we're breaking the low. We're going to come down and break this low, retest it as support, then come all the way down and meet back to, it's like a hyperwave. Remember the hyperwave? This could be a hyperwave, right? It could be, right? Where you have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, and now we're going into phase 6, and then you come all the way down into phase 7 and meet back at the phase 1 and then do it all over again, maybe, right? So I don't think that's going to happen at the moment, but if we break this low, then, you know, we'll reevaluate it. So what is that? 15. But wouldn't that be an extraordinary opportunity if that happened? Picking up theta at, you know, 20 cents, right? Back testing this area. Then, you know, then it can go up into a new all-time high, right? And a part of me kind of likes that, because then, you know, you're guaranteed to be a millionaire at that point, right? No, but it's never a guarantee. But, you know, if you could get theta at 20 cents, knowing that it's going to break its all-time high at some point, I mean, that's a big, big percentage move right there. Versus if theta just continued to go up now, right? So I think that's about it. So I'm going to give you a teaser. This is the theta chart versus Bitcoin. This is theta. This is a chart you may never seen before, but this is theta versus Bitcoin. Basically, this chart's more important to me because, right, if it's not beating Bitcoin, then why be in theta, right? So since May of 2021, right, May of 2022, May of 2023, right? And then also now we're approaching our new year. So it's been a long time, almost 1,000 days of Bitcoin whooping theta's butt as theta continues to bleed against Bitcoin, right? So basically, this is going to be the next video, maybe the one after that, but sometime this week, or actually it's the end of the week, maybe sometime in the next few days, I'm going to go over this chart and basically explain why I'm very bullish on theta versus Bitcoin. And remember the hyperwave. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going into 7. We meet back down here, right? So this is our base. We break out. We back test. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to talk about that the next couple videos. So it's going to be exciting. Don't miss it. Theta versus Bitcoin coming soon. Very interesting developments that I'm noticing, especially in this smaller time frame that I'll get into. But thank you guys for watching. That's what I think is happening with Bitcoin. I wasn't going to make a video today, but you know, I saw some Bitcoin you know, updates on the feeds and things, and I'm thinking, you know what, I think that topping tail, especially that TD sequential, you know, the weekly 9 here, right here, if I take all this off, I mean, here's a good example too. You know, you have a 9, you come down. You have a 9. This was a perfect 9. You came up here and then you came down, right? So going back to where we are now, we have a double 9. But most importantly, it's a doji, right? It's a rejection wick, right? So, and it's a 9. So, you know, that tells me it's most likely over with, at least for a while. You know, at least until we range, until we figure out how we're going to break that range. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So since the week's already over, I don't think, and then we had that big dump today, right? So that told me, okay, it's time to make a video. We got 2 days left on the weekly candle. I doubt that it's going to recover in 2 days and flip the count again. I don't think so. But as an altcoin holder, you should be excited. This is very exciting for an altcoin holder, because if we're in distribution, then we can have that rotation and we can start popping off some alts. So that'll be it, guys. Thank you again for watching. If you'd like, please subscribe, leave a like, comment. It really helps out, and I will catch you on the next one. Cheers.